I'm going to call the meeting to order and roll call, please.
Mayor Breeden.
Here.
Vice Mayor Maurer.
Here.
Councilman Blades.
Here.
Councilman Heyman.
Present.
4 present. We have a quorum.
Okay, approval of the agenda, deleting item number 4 because Councilwoman Stevens is not here.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Are we voting? Oh, here we go.
Okay.
3 ayes. Motion carries.
Scott is still trying to vote.
Yeah.
It'll be 4. So,
4 ayes. Motion.
okay.
Well, you're mean, aren't you?
Okay.
I'll try this one too.
Is there anyone on who'd like to make public comment on closed session? I see no one there. I did not hear the phone ring. Gary, is there anyone there? Okay, thank you. We will then go into closed session with legal counsel, anticipated litigation. So, sir, go ahead.
Go ahead, meaning are we in closed session now?
So we're going to just wait one. We still have live feed.
To call this meeting to order, and if you'll stand with a pledge, please, and Councilman Heyman will lead us.
Face flag. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing.
Our Father in heaven, we are thankful for the opportunity we have meeting together. We're thankful for this beautiful city that we are allowed to live in. We're thankful for the freedoms that we enjoy. We pray that thy spirit might be upon us this night, that we make the decisions thou would have us do, and that we might be blessed in this community as we fight through this pandemic, that we might be blessed to have lives saved and have people get well. We pray for these things in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Please be seated. I'd like to take the moment to tell you if you're here for a particular item, item number 4 has been pulled from the agenda. Councilwoman Stevens is not here. She's ill, and so we will wait for her since it was at her request. So if you're waiting particularly for that item, we are not going to have it on the agenda. All right, so the next item is the City Attorney's Report.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Lloyd Pilchin. City Council met in closed session on one item, anticipated litigation under the Brown Act, identified on the agenda. There was a report from staff. Direction was given. No final reportable action was taken by council. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, sir. The next item is public comment on items not on the agenda. Is there anyone who wants to call in and speak on that? I will read you that while you're giving the chance to call in. Persons wishing to address the council on matters that are within the council's jurisdiction and do not already appear on the agenda may do so at this time. Pursuant to the Brown Act, the City Council may not take action on any item that does not appear on the agenda. Speakers are limited to 5 minutes. Public comment section of the agenda is limited to a total of 1 hour. Each speaker is asked to provide his or her name. Nobody's called in? Okay. We will then go on to... Oh. Okay. Good evening. Please state your name and your comment.
Is this public comment?
Yes, it is.
Oh, sorry.
Good evening. Please state your name and your comment.
Please turn off your TV or
Yes.
computer.
I just did.
Thank you.
You didn't wait long enough. This is Dave Matthews. Recently, we just had a power outage, internet outage. I'm sorry, lasting for 10 hours or so, and supposedly there was a cable cut, South China Lake Boulevard and Dolphin, I believe. And I'm not sure that I was aware that we had fiber out that way. Apparently we do. And there was some very interesting things taking place doing that. The first one that everyone should be concerned about is that 911 was not available. So, like some mother a long time ago advised, don't put all your eggs in one basket. We need to consider what else we've got available here, because that is unacceptable. Somebody needs to be held accountable. There are supposedly ways to find out where cables and lines are, and they should be adhered to, and whoever caused the problem owes a lot of people some debt, I believe. There are other sources that could be available, like maybe Citizens Band radio or ham radio, and the city needs to get a plan to figure out what we're going to do the next time this happens, because this was not the first time. I don't know that the others were really local, but this one apparently was. So I'm not sure how much time I've got left here, but I would also like to mention the fact that there is a recall petition on the governor being circulated. And if you got any communications from Chip Holloway just recently, there is a online session within about 45 minutes from now, I guess. Unfortunately, I didn't see that until just before I opened up the webpage for the meeting. So, and I also have one, but I'm not circulating it, but I have some spaces if somebody wants to contact me, and I will see if I can make it available to them. That's about it for now, I guess. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Is there any other call-ins? Please do so ASAP. We'll give you the 30 seconds. Okay, I see no other call-ins, so we will then go to council announcements. Does anyone, any member of the council have anything you'd like to announce? Anybody? Okay, no council announcements. The next item is a consent calendar. Item 1, proposed action to approve draft minutes of the City of Ridgecrest City Council Successor Redevelopment Agency Financing Authority Housing Authority regular meeting dated August 19th, and a resolution of the City Council authorizing the destruction of certain accounting records. Is there anybody on the council who would like to have any item pulled? Is there anybody in the public who would like to have any item pulled? Give you 30 seconds. Okay, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Please vote.
4 ayes, motion carries.
I'm going to
Hang
show
on,
you
so-
that Lindsay is voting and Heyman is not.
Yeah, I've tried both. Yeah, I've got both of them here, but neither one is registering. Yeah.
Lindsay, we're real glad you approved this. You have remarkable powers to be able to do that. We're going to pick up her, okay.
You sound like my wife talking to me about the remote.
Okay. All right. Do we need to change the vote on that, or do we need to revote? All right, let's do that. Let's just do it that way. Is that okay, Gary?
Just do a roll call? How about just do a roll call vote?
Is it clear is it clear that it's a 4-0 vote? Is there anyone opposed?
No.
No.
So if it's clear, then we've stated that on the record, then I think we can move on.
All right, thank you. All right, the next item. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Ridgecrest authorizing the update and implementation of the Ridgecrest Transit Title 6, Plan for 2020. And there you are. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of council. Title VI can be summarized as part of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which ensures service recipients receive equal treatment, equal access, equal rights, and equal opportunities without regard to their race, color, or national origin. The City of Ridgecrest Transit Title VI program or plan consists of a detailed commitment not to discriminate in violation of Title VI, to establish violation complaint procedures locally and through the FTA, and to have a limited English proficiency plan, and it's updated every 3 years. There were no reported violations throughout the last 3-year period that were reviewed in updating this plan. We also did not need to update the limited English proficiency aspect because that's updated based on 2010 census data. So this update consisted primarily of marketing changes from the old marketing to the new branding, from Ridge Road Transit to Ridgecrest Transit, and then updating of the contact info inside the plan itself. And I'm prepared to answer any questions you may have.
So we approve this, then Kerncog approves it, is that right?
No, this will go to Caltrans for review.
Caltrans, okay.
And then,
I have a question on
Okay.
item number, on page 13, it talks about deficiencies in Title VI compliance. And in the Ridgecrest Transit shall submit if we get a complaint, we have to submit a remedial action plan within 30 days. Sometimes they're hard to respond to in 30 days, and I'm assuming that we aren't going to get anything that's very difficult to answer, but if we do, 30 days is a short time to have a turnaround on an entire plan to achieve compliance, and it doesn't say that there's any ability to address if we can address it in 30 days.
so that's going to come if we get a finding from the FTA. So if the FTA receives complaints about us,
Okay,
they're
it's
going
not,
to investigate it, and then they're going to issue the letter of finding. So
Okay.
if that were the case, then I believe we would have time to begin preparing our response when the investigation began.
okay.
I'm curious, do any or all of our transit drivers speak Spanish?
We currently do not have anybody who speaks Spanish. What we've used so far that has worked pretty well is like translation apps on your cell phone. So like there's Google Translate or other apps. And I personally have used them when I was driving a bus to communicate with Spanish-speaking passengers.
Okay. That's all the questions I have.
Any other questions? Any questions from the public? Okay, I see none, so is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Got a call coming in.
Okay. Caller, please identify yourself and ask your question or comment.
Yes. You
Please.
guys are up to your.
Please identify yourself.
I'm
Please,
sorry.
please identify yourself and turn off your television or computer.
I thought I did. Sorry. It's Dave Matthews again. You guys are up to your old tricks. You're not talking into the microphone. I can't. The sound doesn't come across if you don't talk into the mics.
Okay, who was it you did not hear?
Mr. Mauer.
Sorry.
All right, we will all try to be more compliant with that request. Did you have a question, sir? That was your comment?
He's gone.
Okay, I guess that's it. Okay, so a motion then, we had that, and a second? All right, please vote.
Four ayes, motion carries.
Okay, we have pulled item 4. So thank you for your help, sir. Okay, the ordinance, second reading and adoption of ordinance 2004, an ordinance of the City of Ridgecrest City Council amending portions of Ridgecrest Municipal Code sections number 106 through 31 regarding home occupation permits. Ma'am.
Okay, so this is the second reading. This was presented at the last council meeting. So this is for changes to the municipal code as it applies to home occupation permits. This was started in response to the code codification that was started by the city clerk, Rika, about 2 years ago. At that time, we discovered that we had some options to update the code as it applied to home occupations. The first change is for the removal of restrictions for hairdressers, barbers. These professions are regulated through the State Board of Cosmetology, and that board establishes some guidelines for the health and safety of consumers. So they do allow this to operate out of a home. They have to apply for the same kind of permitting as a regular business would. So it doesn't necessarily work for a lot of people, but if they can make all of those restrictions work, then they would still need a home occupation permit. At this time, we do not allow it. The same is true for what Kern County calls a cottage food operation. So the Kern County Public Health Department has been allowing certain low-risk food items to be made in home kitchens. This has been operational in Kern County since about 2014. So we're asking and recommending that we update the code to allow those. We also have a couple of additions to specifically for the cosmetology. We would update it and include that it can only be one operator that lives in the home. And obviously they still have to comply with all the other regulations for these licensees. This went to the Planning Commission on July 28th. They recommended it. We heard it last month. I have not received any additional comments. I believe that council has. Staff is asking that you approve the changes.
I would like to ask a question. I wish I had thought to ask last time that this is not coming up now because of COVID. This is coming up because it was part of our revisions that we saw that didn't match what the county was doing. So it's not a response to COVID.
That is true. Like I said, about 2 years ago when we started the codification process, each department reviewed the section of the municipal code that applied to their department. And at that time, I was aware, coming from the chamber, that the cottage food operation permits were allowed. In that time, we've waited for the updating process, and we've gone through the means to do that. And then I was made aware that cosmetology was also available to operate out of the home. So we moved it forward and gave Planning Commission and Council the opportunity to decide if you thought that was right.
I've received a number of
if I may.
comments from some of the beauty salon owners, who one of the comments was, so just put us out of business so everybody else can go do it in their home. And this is not the intent by any means. I understand the concerns, but as many of you, I remember when I first came up here, there was a really nice lady who had a shop out in Kern County on Inyakern Road, and I can't remember her name. I've been trying to think all week about who it was. And she operated that way under Kern County rules out of her home. And I don't think she probably put too many salons out of business because of that. Now, I understand that the concern is that as a one-person salon, you're going to have it a whole lot easier than somebody who has 10 or 5 or however many people operating the salon, and just by virtue of numbers and the cost, and there are clear benefit to this community and to our people, and I would like to be able to have that. But I also understand the impact we have on those businesses. So I would like us to just make sure we all understand we're not giving them anything that they are not required to do also. There's nothing, right?
That's true. And if anything, there's more requirements, because if you have a business in a commercially zoned area, you're going to be able to have a big sign. You're going to be able to advertise. If you have a busy salon, you're going to have a lot more word of mouth. You're going to have a bigger variety. As a salon owner, I would say you're able to provide,
Yes.
your reputation. You're able to be in a Yelp search. I mean, there's a lot of advantages to those salon owners still. And, so it's going to be up to the consumer if they want to go to someone's house. And it's just a kind of a different option. Kern County does allow it, along with the city of Bakersfield, and many other municipalities allow it too. It's not new. We're not particularly groundbreaking. We're just trying to catch up.
What do the rest of you think, and talk about the impact that you may see on some of the salons, if you've heard from any others? Because I just got to thank you for telling me it was Sandy Haug that had done that. So thank you, Greg. I appreciate that. Those of you who may have heard, what are you hearing? Anybody?
I haven't heard anything.
I've heard quite a bit
Yeah.
from various owners, and I believe they have a valid complaint, but it's sort of, I hope nobody holds this against me because I'm going to word this incorrectly, but it's almost like using the city to force people into being in a shop, in a brick and mortar, right? Seems to me that's what it is. Now, somebody correct me if I'm wrong.
I don't understand what you're saying.
Well, what I'm saying is, if this doesn't get cleaned up, right, the way that we see it, people aren't allowed to go get the permit, update their home, and then do it out of a garage, which I'm not even saying that I particularly like the idea. I'm just saying that it seems like that's what the business owners are asking. They're asking for us not to clean this up. They don't want this to happen, and they would like to continue to have those chairs filled by people with licenses. And that makes sense if that's the business. The analogy that there is a lot of other businesses that aren't allowed to operate in a residential area, understand that one too. That's a valid argument. There are a lot of other businesses.
But that's why these people aren't allowed to advertise.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, imagine
The only advertising they can do is word of mouth, is my understanding.
Sure, but I mean, even if since we're just having an open discussion, even if it's just one chair, one person in a garage, there's still probably going to be more traffic in and out of that house than there would be normally.
That could be.
If we think logically. So you have to decide if you would. Oh, go ahead, Lloyd.
Madam Mayor, may I interject?
Please.
Okay, this is Lloyd Pilchin. So I just wanted to sort of build on what Heather was explaining, because she did a very good job. Home occupations, as Heather said, they've been around for a long time, and they're in many cities' codes. The whole idea is that it should not be an impact on the neighborhood, And it's the kind of businesses that typically nobody in a neighborhood would even notice. So, for example, a lawyer or an accountant or a talk therapist might have one person visit an hour, one at a time. And so there won't be parking issues or noise issues. It's just as if someone was having a friend over for a cup of tea. It's just not a major impact on the neighborhood. At the last meeting, Ms. Stevens brought up a comparison to home daycares, and I think she was trying to make a comparison that it's a good thing, but I just wanted to comment that home daycares are a very different category. They don't fall into home occupations. They are separately regulated, because a home daycare with 6 children or whatever, that does have big impacts on the neighborhood. You have cars dropping off and picking up. There's a busy time in the morning and in the evening, and there may be noise during the day. So that's the kind of thing that doesn't fall within the category of home occupation. So the part about the hairstylist or whatever it's called, the whole idea is people would probably informally do that even without this category, but having it in the code allows the city to have some control. So I think the most important thing that Heather said is that it allows the city to impose restrictions, like the number of clients per hour and like no signs and no restrictions on advertising. So that's all I wanted to add. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
It allows the city, but do we?
What in particular?
Well, I'll let Heather say, because she mentioned no signage.
I just want to make sure that as a city, we're restricting all those things. There's no impact.
Oh,
on
yeah,
the
absolutely. They would have, these are just 2 additions to what's already in the code. So they would have to comply with all the same things as everyone else, which is the traffic can only be within certain hours. Again, you can't have a bunch of people parked on the street all the time, and if it becomes an issue, then we can revoke it. We can bring it to council, and council can hear it and hear the neighbors' complaints, and we can revoke that permit. But they still, just like everyone else, they can't have traffic, a bunch of deliveries, you can't have signs, advertising. You can't list your address if you do advertise somewhere. So there's still a lot of restrictions.
So we've seen emails on the opposite end of the spectrum, thinking it would be a good thing for them to be able to set their home up in such a fashion. Have you, the city, received requests from, I guess I'm asking you, Heather, specifically, requests from either barbers or cosmetologists wanting to set up in their homes?
I believe we have received a couple of phone calls, but it's not active yet, obviously. So, we've told them, I know that there's at least 2, but that's all that I've heard about, that 2 people are interested.
My concern that it gives, and I'm going to use this word in quotes, so don't take it as what I'm saying. If you're a beauty operator and you want to operate in your home, I don't want to see the salons and the beauty shops consider they've been given protection from somebody who wants to leave and do it in their home, any more than I want to see those people who do it in their home but never tell anybody. Now that's my biggest concern, because it doesn't take much. I mean, most laundry rooms have a sink in their garage, and it wouldn't take anything. And so are we going to have, again, in quotes, police out checking to see if anybody's doing this? Are we then dependent on neighbors to complain? How do we, if they just do it anyhow, how do we deal with that? Has anybody got any answers?
I don't know. I guess we deal with it the same way we deal with it now. I mean, there has to be, not that I've heard or whatever, no, but I mean, I'm sure that there's people who make money on the side doing that sort of thing. I'm sure that goes with all kinds of businesses. But I think there is a concern out there, like you were just mentioning. Some of the salon owners are saying, look, if you guys make this clear in the code, you're sort of giving people an unofficial pass to do something. I think that the part that's being left out is the amount of work you have to go through to get a hold of, from the State Board of Cosmetology to get a license, to get set up in the home, and all the updates you'd have to do to your home to have it in there. So I guess it all comes down to a very general, either they were going to do it incorrectly in the first place, or they're going to do it correctly. And then if they're going to do it correctly, the even smaller subset of people who would probably much rather be in a salon. I mean, the clientele that comes in and out, and that's my assumption, right? That it's a much different experience if you're in a salon. I know, I go to a salon. It's different than going
You
to somebody's
see all
garage,
sorts
I
of
would
great
say.
product and new opportunities, and looking around and seeing pictures of what some cuts look like. I like the idea of going a salon.
Well, plus you get to catch up with all the gossip.
That's true. So is there anybody else who has, Scott, did you want to say something?
No, I think it affords the individuals that want to do it on a slower basis the ability to do it correctly and to work out of their home. I think that's important that they're given the opportunity and the green light, to help them on that end. I don't think the salons are the very points I think that were just brought up. I was sitting here thinking about, the ambiance of the salon and the people go for a reason and, for a lot of reasons, the social side of it, the quality of care and the good service. And and equally, we want, that they have that going for them. But I think the ones that want to work on a slower basis and work out of their home, I think that this is a good opportunity and assist them in that process.
So
Public, I'm sorry.
No.
Public, let me just say this. Public, those of you who wrote us, those of you who have called us, I've heard from at least 6 or 7 people and a number of salon owners. Please call in and state your concerns now. Otherwise, we're going to make a decision based on the information that we were given last time, what we heard from the people who responded last time. And if you have something to say, please do so now. And if you don't, well, then we will do what we think is the very best thing to serve everybody without giving special protection to any section of these, whether you be cooking pickles in your home or you be coloring hair. So.
The only other thing I was going to ask, Heather, there really isn't, and maybe you're going to tell me I'm incorrect, is there a mechanism for us to know, as the city, if somebody has their State Board of Cosmetology, like the proper permits before we give them their in-home permit?
I'm actually glad you asked, because when you were talking about people working from their home as well, the State Board of Cosmetology has a website, and on that website you can report someone. You can look up their license to see if they have any complaints against them. The same goes for salons. You can look up the salon's individual license and determine have they had any, I don't know exactly what the citations or any fines the last time that they were inspected. You can see all of that. And so as staff, obviously, we can do the same thing. We can pull up and see where they're at in the process, because State Board isn't going to give them their operator license to work out of their home unless we have a home occupancy. So it would be a reciprocal approval with the State Board of Cosmetology, just like Kern County. The home occupation is required to get that cottage food license. So it's a reciprocal relationship between the two agencies to make sure that they're in compliance. So at any time, if it's an issue, and people don't know, they can always look on the State Board of Cosmetology site and pull up someone's license. It'll tell whether it's active or not. And they can also list a complaint. So if they think someone is working out of their home without authorization, they can list a complaint. So,
Okay, is there any other council comments or questions? I see no public has called in, despite me begging you to please come and say what you have to say.
I'm going to make a motion.
We're going to, you've got no more time left, folks. You've been given a notice, so, motion?
Make a motion to waive reading in full of ordinance 20-04, an ordinance of the City of Ridgecrest, City Council, City of Ridgecrest, California, authorizing portions of Chapter 106-31 of the Ridgecrest Municipal Code regarding home occupation permits.
Okay. Is
Second.
there a second?
Second.
Okay, please vote.
Four ayes, motion carries.
And then this motion 2 of 2.
I make a motion to adopt ordinance 20-04 by title only, an ordinance of the City Council of Ridgecrest, California, amending portions of Chapter 106-31 of the Ridgecrest Municipal Code regarding home occupation permits.
Second,
Second.
please vote.
Four ayes, motion carries.
Okay, thank you all. I appreciate all of you who talked or called or wrote, and you educated me even a little bit more, so I thank you for that. Okay, the next item is introduction and first reading of the ordinance of the City Council of the City of Ridgecrest amending the Ridgecrest Municipal Code as it relates to conflicts of interest. And so I understand, Heather, you have that?
I'll be handling that one, Madam Mayor.
All right, thank you, sir.
Lloyd Pilchin, City Attorney. Okay, so this is the first reading of an ordinance, the city's Conflicts of Interest Code. The city has always had a Conflicts of Interest Code. It is required by the Political Reform Act, and it is in our current code, and this ordinance is to make amendments, revisions to that, as the Political Reform Act requires that the city review and make any changes at least once every 2 years. So you will see if you flip through to the ordinance that we've indicated with strike through and underlining the revisions that we've made. Our office worked together with RICA on this, and the main changes are to add certain positions. The Conflict of Interest Code identifies positions in the city that are required to report various financial interests, property ownership in the city, all with the purpose of identifying potential conflicts. So several positions have been added, which you can tell by the underlining. But in addition, you'll see that we lined out all of the previous positions and then repeated them or re-added them because we found that in the city's previous conflict of interest code, there seemed to be no rhyme or reason for the order of listing the positions. So we made the command decision to put them in alphabetical order. So that's the changes are to add positions, to put them in alphabetical order, to make a few linguistic tweaks here and there, and that concludes my report.
So can I assume, sir, that you basically did not add positions, that you defined them more fully and gave them actual easily definable and look-upable, is that a word, jobs?
We did add positions. So if you look beginning at the bottom of page 3 of the ordinance,
right,
all of the underlined positions are added positions. That is positions that were not listed 2 years ago.
Okay, but you gave them a different name. Rather than
that may be the case in some cases. Yeah, that may be the case in some cases.
Because that's what it looked like when I read through them all, is they're not, okay, I understand what you're saying. Any other questions?
I find it interesting that the planning commissioner was not listed before and it is now. I thought they were required anyway.
They are required, and I honestly don't know why it was not listed before.
Okay, because I know the state was requiring them before, so, okay.
Is there any questions from other council? I'm assuming since no public is called in, that you have nothing to question or add?
I make a motion to waive reading in full an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Ridgecrest amending the Ridgecrest Municipal Code as it relates to the conflicts of interest.
Second.
Please vote.
4 ayes, motion carries.
Okay, thank you all.
What, we got another one. Make a motion to
We
introduce.
need a second motion.
Yes.
Yep.
I make a motion to introduce by title only an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Ridgecrest amending the Ridgecrest Municipal Code as it relates to the conflicts of interest.
Is there a second?
Second.
Please vote.
4 ayes, motion carries.
Okay, thank you all. Okay, the next item is committee reports. Finance Committee.
We have not yet, so.
Okay, Infrastructure Committee.
Yes, we had a meeting scheduled for last Thursday. Unfortunately, the phones were all down for most of us. And so we felt that we couldn't have a meeting because public would not be able to participate. So we canceled the meeting. We've been talking about rescheduling it, and we may not have the meeting until the next regular meeting, which will be the 4th Thursday of September.
Thank you. Economic Development Committee.
Economic Development Committee will be meeting on Wednesday, September 9th at 5 p.m.
Okay, thank you. Parks, Rec, and Quality of Life.
So yes, we did meet this week, and so the primary topic of discussion was 2 grants, one which we've already have money available, and we went over various areas that are in need, or well, that the money could be used for, looking at new fields and various other avenues of it. So that's still in discussion. The second one was a grant that is currently being sought and pursued. It is a grant for $8.5 million, up to $8.5 million, that could be used for what we have determined at this point, a pool, public pool would be the primary interest for this grant. And so a lot of the discussion was geared toward that. We had a lot of public comment coming in. There's going to be a lot of requests and community involvement necessary and required for it. And so we're going to go out and get with various organizations, schools, public schools, the private schools, Montessori, getting input from the community as to what we would want in a pool. And so I think it's really big news, good news for the community. And so we will keep everybody updated on it. We're looking at having a total of 5 meetings required before, I think, by December. And so we've had, I think it's 2. This was our second meeting. So we're looking at 3 more meetings plus a outdoor public meeting that we're going to have in, it's a to be determined, but like out in the Freedom Park or another spot where we can gather with public and bring in input from everybody, and so there's going to be ads in the paper that we were looking at, or articles we're asking for the local newspapers to put articles out there to inform the public. Facebook, I wouldn't want to call it advertising, but info data out there to alert people out into the public what is going on. So I think that's about it at the time being. So I want to urge everybody listening and the council and everyone to get the word out. It's pretty exciting. It would sure be a wonderful thing to see a pool back up and running in the community. So we'll keep everybody updated as we get further along in that grant process. The final thing is we're looking at having a professional grant writer do the grant work. They have experience with this exact type of funding, excuse me, in the past, and have successfully gotten 5 grants, I believe was the number that was given. So, so that's good. We'll have professional help. We want to get as much community involvement as we can, and I urge everybody to call in. We had members of the community, teachers and superintendents. It was a good meeting last night. Come out there feeling really kind of excited about the whole thing. So anyway, so we'll keep everybody updated on it and look forward to seeing more stuff out in the public about it here in the very near future. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Okay, the RACVB, Melissa.
Honorable Mayor and members of council, I've got a fairly quick report for you from the RACVB. There was a slight uptick due to a military exercise this past month, and that was seen, and our general occupancy with our hotels right now is about 35%. Another update I have is that the website is now fully updated. You will be able to see a sizzle reel, which is considered something that a lot of filming industries look at in terms of where they would like to choose their locations. And the marketing is definitely targeting film and music industries. And with this, there's a continual rise of actual inquiries calling into the RACVB. And that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you. I see we have a call up there. It's past the time for comment, but because it's a short meeting, I'll go ahead and take the call. So caller, please identify yourself. Caller, please identify yourself.
Hi, this is Skip Gorman. Sorry to bother everybody. I think the deletion of item 4 on the agenda threw me for a bit of a loop and left me at sea. I had submitted a written comment that I figured would come up either during public comments or perhaps during item 4.
Skip, we deleted item 4 because it was an item asked for by Councilwoman Stevens, and she wants to address it, and she specifically asked for it to be pulled, and we will put it back on, and you can make your comments at that time, sir.
Peggy, my interest and comment did not deal directly with item 4. It did not have to do with the council bailing out of the groundwater authority. I'd appreciate your forbearance in not jumping to that conclusion. My comment was, I'm seeking to get on the agenda for perhaps the next meeting, the city council to consider voting Councilman Scott Heyman off of the groundwater authority and representing, having represented on that authority by another person.
Skip, this is inappropriate at this time. I know you sent us a letter. If you would do that again, and that way we can pass it on to council. But right now, public comment is closed, and I'm sorry you didn't get the opportunity to speak at that time. But if I allow you to do it, I have to allow every single other person who wants to call in and speak. So my apologies to you, but if you would go ahead and address your concerns to all of us, we will take it and look at it and go from there. And my apologies.
I don't know how to do that.
Write us an email.
Right. Okay. I think the issue is being railroaded. I'd appreciate it if it was taken seriously.
Skip, your time to speak was under public comment. And public comments time on items not on the agenda were at that time. So you can do that again.
I don't know if I knew that item 4 was deleted before public comment.
Sir, we announced it, and my apologies, but if I do it for you, I have to do it for every person. So send it to us, and we will deal with it and see if the any council members want it on the agenda. I promise you that. Thank you.
Thank you, Peg.
All right. All right, the next item then is other committees, boards, or commissions. Anybody?
I have East Kern.
I have an East Kern air pollution control meeting tomorrow at 2. Not that they're ever very exciting. They usually last 15 minutes. Actually, our KernCog meeting last week lasted 20 minutes. I chose, again, I was thinking about driving over there, but I chose to call in and Zoom it. And it started at 6:30, and at 6:50 it was done. 2 meetings, 20 minutes.
Okay.
I'm glad I didn't spend 4 hours driving over and back.
Okay. Okay, no other,
No, the League of California Cities met last week. It was a relatively short meeting, mostly consumed with appointing people to various positions within the league if people wanted to take part. There was a few updates. I think the biggest one was something we were briefed on a couple of months ago from Quad Cities about the Joshua Tree and being taken into account. It's novel. It's unique because it's the first time that something like this has been addressed on a national level when it's not against human encroachment for onto lands or a protected animal or protected this, that, and the other. It's actually being taken into consideration for climate change. And once that happens, again, I'm trying to summarize real quick. This is a very large discussion, but once that happens, if you're trying to develop property with a Joshua tree on that piece of property, you cannot come mid-September for quite a while. The estimation is around a year or so until the government can make a determination on where they're going to go with that protected status or not. So it's worth mentioning. It was part of the brief there. I think that one other additional item was that the HUD, there we go, there was the HUD released cities to use CARES Act money for non-HUD use. You probably already knew that, Ron, but it was something else that came out of the meeting. That's about it.
anybody else? Okay, then the next item is city manager's report.
I have nothing this evening, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Future agenda items. Anybody? Okay. Mayor and city council comments.
Do we currently have a code enforcement officer? No? Any prospects? We have one in background right now. Okay.
Well, we may not have an actual code enforcement officer, but the police department still is handling code enforcement cases.
Okay. No other council comments? Okay, then we will adjourn this meeting. Thank you all for attending.